guys, welcome to Bastian Time. I'm your host, Bastian. Let's get on to some Nintendo news. Well, really, this could be called Kamiya news, because it's basically all going to be about the developer Kamiya, except for the last story or so. But in case you're not familiar with him, he's the guy who's currently in charge of things like Bayonetta 2 and the Okami series, and so in some interviews he had a lot of interesting things to say about those franchises. First of all, about Okami, he says that he is very aware that there is a lot of fan support out there for something Okami Wii U related. I mean, I personally think just do the HD version of Okami on the Wii U, first of all, because it would be awesome to draw with the paintbrush right on the gamepad. But in any case, he was sort of focusing on the idea of a sequel, and it sounds like that's a possibility, a huge possibility. He was very positive about it. He said that he understood that there was a lot of fan support about it, and that's definitely something that he's looking into, but there's so many different games that fans want that he's just trying to appease them all, but that's pretty cool. And then separate from that, he also says that he's very interested in the idea of creating some Bayonetta and Okami spin-offs using secondary characters for the 3DS. So it may be that we would get an actual official Okami sequel with Amaterasu, I can never pronounce her name correctly, herself on the Wii U, but that maybe we might get, he says, a whole game about Isun and his whole little miniature world. That could be pretty interesting. Kamiya also went on to sort of address that whole backlash against Nintendo thing that still is prevalent to this day. A lot of Bayonetta fans, as you well are aware, are not amused that the sequel to Bayonetta is coming out on the Wii U as an exclusive, and he goes on to explain some specific reasons why it is a Wii U exclusive, and that's the fact that apparently they were originally developing it, co-developing it with Sega, which would have allowed them to be able to release it multi-platform. But Sega, who is putting up all of the money, that's how these sort of things work. Sega is going to be the publisher, basically. So the publisher provides all the money for the developers to create this game. If there's no money, they can't create the game. And Sega said, actually, never mind. And so they had to shelve Bayonetta 2. And so it was just going to die. And then Nintendo came out of the woodworks and said, hey, actually, we'll give you the money, make it an exclusive. So what he has to say is basically, Bayonetta fans should be very thankful for Nintendo coming forward and providing that money to finish the game. But of course, most fans don't really realize how that whole dynamic works, and they just think that, you know, Nintendo worked some sort of voodoo that made it an exclusive, but really without Nintendo, it would have never existed at all anyway, so. And then our final story has nothing to do with any of that stuff or Mr. Kamiya at all, but actually about Bravely Default and the fact that we've got some new information. Well, first of all, there was like a screenshot over on the Japanese site that showed some English text, and for the... It's very confusingly titled. It's called Bravely Default for the sequel, but it's not a sequel, it's just a improved version of the game. I think it's called For the Sequel because it's going to help them generate enough revenue to create a sequel. They really shouldn't have called it that though, because it's very confusing. It sounds like it might be a sequel itself, but in any case, that is the version. Not the original version. That's the version that we're going to be getting over here in North America and Europe and everywhere else, so we'll never really get to play the original version. This is, of course, an improved version, but I hear that the original version was perfectly awesome, so I don't know. Anyways, that's it for this episode of Nintendo News. See you guys tomorrow for more Zelda news. See you then. Bye.